Hey everybody, welcome to Voices of Recovery. Today's guest is Danny and Fran Childress, and I'm your host, Gregory Greer. Today's guest, everybody, I met them probably within the last year, and the work that I do at Red Hill Recovery and speaking elsewhere and in the field of addiction and recovery, I met this couple, Danny and Fran, and they help engage our recovery community in a way that I'd like to help them bring out so that you could all meet them. Please welcome to the show, Danny and Fran Childress. If I had an applause meter like they do on talk shows, it would. Oh, yeah. Guys, when I met you, and Fran, I met you first, and then Danny, you and I talked on the phone at some time at length, and it's like, so I work on the front lines in a residential treatment program with people that come in, and then I always ask people, what roles that can help me with them too. And y'all have been a blessing, an absolute blessing. And I'd like you, if you could share how you're a blessing, at least on how we met and what you do. So how do you engage the recovery community? Fran, I asked you first when we first met. Can you share how that was?
Well, thank you. Thank you for asking me. I am a very active member of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I have been taught during my recovery, when somebody asks you to do something, you do it. The other thing that I believe very strongly in is that I cannot keep my recovery unless I'm willing to give it away. So I do remember our very first conversation when you did ask me, and it always thrills me greatly when I'm asked to speak somewhere, mainly because I get to talk about my very favorite subject, and that's me.
Oh, okay, right on. Good.
Yes,
right,
yes.
Good.
But, I am honored by it, and I just thought that at the time that you called me, I said, you're the bravest man I've ever come across, or desperate, because you had never heard me speak before, so you knew nothing of what you were getting. But it has been an honor and a privilege.
Well, you speaking well now. So so many people spoke about you well, and I was looking forward to meeting you. And so we got finally meet in person, and this is great, face to face.
Indeed.
And so then, Danny, you engage the recovery community in what way?
Well, I'm married to an alcoholic.
Congratulations.
That absolutely. This is my alcoholic. And, that's two key points. A, being in a relationship that I choose to be in, and I call her a recovered alcoholic because she actively works a program. And so about a year and a half or so after she found recovery, I finally walked into a little room full of little gray-haired ladies. And they introduced themselves as Al-Anon. And I found out that there was a place that I could go, and I was hoping that they were going to tell me what I needed to do, that I could tell my wife so that she'd recover. And I've been going to those recovery meetings for families and friends of alcoholics for 36 years. And so far, they've not yet told me anything about what I can do to help her recover. But they've sure shown me a lot about me and how I can take care of me, because there's nothing I can do about the alcoholic in my life. I can just make my own choices and do me.
Well, how did y'all meet? So my wife's an alcoholic. It's not like you just...
Actually, we met in kindergarten.
Well, we weren't drinking then yet, were we?
Not yet.
Some of us, I'm just saying.
Not yet. Probably could have used a drink then. And I got to tell you, when I met him, I said, what a brat he is. But I'll let him. He describes it. He's much sweeter than I, describing what he saw in kindergarten.
Well, it was the very first kindergarten in our little parish down here south of town, and ever. And my mom dressed me up in my little school clothes and carried me down the steps into the church basement and set me down at a little bitty youth table. And I looked across the table. And there sat this little girl with curly blonde hair, green eyes, and dimples. And that's this lady right here.
Ta-da.
Yeah. And I want to make sure that there is no doubt among anybody, we did not fall in love at 5 years old. That was many years later.
Wow. So then when did the alcohol problem start? Or when was it recognized?
Well, you see, I go back to, I believe my drunkalog is pretty Mickey Mouse. I mean, it's really kind of boring. I did the same stuff. I drank. I drank to get drunk. I wanted to. And I started pretty old considering what they do today. I waited till I was 15 before I started drinking. This is with my drinking buddies, as a matter of fact. We had a good time doing that. But, the fact of the matter is I believe I knew no alcohol in my family or at my family home. My father was alcoholic. He had 7 years of sobriety when I was born. His father was alcoholic. His father's brothers were alcoholic. I had a brother that died from this disease. We have a daughter that has 8 years of sobriety, and unfortunately our son died of this disease. So I believe in the predisposition. I believe I was born alcoholic. Mm-hmm. It was just a matter of taking that,
Yeah.
So
was there an intervention kind of thing, or is it just because you had enough?
There was an intervention.
I noticed that he had his hand behind your head.
It was, prior to that intervention, and we were, this was 1988. Prior to that, we were not getting along. I can't imagine why, but we just would not. And we were fighting and arguing and carrying on. He was traveling. I was glad he was traveling. It was just a mess. And he came in one night, and I remember very, very distinctly that night. He had a rose in one hand, and it was shaking. And he sat down. He says, "Do you have anything to tell me?" Well, I had put on my combat boots, and I says, "Why, yes, I do. If you don't straighten your ass up, you're out of here." And he took that pretty well. He says, "Is there anything else?" And I said, "No, not yet." And he says, "Well, I have something to tell you." And he pretty much accurately told me all my antics and what I had been doing and how I'd been acting and essentially my addiction. I'm going to tell you that was a moment of complete and total surrender. We talk about that in the program a whole lot.
Yeah.
Because when he laid it all out for me, I was tired. I just looked at him and I said, "You're right. Yes, that's what I've done." Because whatever happened from that point on, I was done. Just done. I couldn't do it anymore. And, up to that point, I was fighting. Because, of course, I'd suffered from self-centered fear. I was terrified. I was terrified he'd kick me out. I was terrified I'd lose my children. I was terrified of everything. But that moment, it just didn't matter. Not anymore.
So it sounds like the phrase that I've heard in recovery before, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Uh-huh. I was there.
There you go.
I was there. And he told me the next day his company had an EAP program. Yes. And he was going to go talk to somebody about my little problem. And would I like to go with him? And I said, "Well, why, yes, I would." Now, I did this for two reasons. The first one was to show that I was willing, that I would be a good girl. I would do whatever you wanted me to do, whatever it did. But the second one, and probably the more important of the reasons, is
the more honest reason.
The more honest reason. I didn't want them to tell them to do something with me that I really didn't want to do. So I went with them.
Oh, good.
And that's another story unto itself, and that would take up probably way more time. But, I'll go ahead anyway. We met with a counselor there, and I thought I was doing pretty good with verbal combat with him. We did it for about 20 minutes, going back and forth. And in the midst of it, he says, "You haven't lost your sense of humor yet." And I says, "Yeah." He says, "It's a little dry." And I says, "Wait till I sober up." And
Is that a pun? Sorry.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
And but what he hit me with in the middle of that was that, "How long have you been considering suicide?" And I really had not. I had thought of it. I just thought I had it well hidden. And I says, "Well, you're pretty good after all, aren't you?"
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to put it off. But the fact of the matter is that suicide wasn't an option because I could not figure out how to do it without hurting my children more. So he invited me to stay in his establishment, and I graciously declined. And then we did some more verbal combat about that. And I think it's fortunate Danny hadn't been to Al-Anon yet. The counselor left the room, and I looked at Danny, and I did what any good drunk would do. I begged and I cried, "Please don't leave me here. Please don't leave me here. Please take me home. I'll do whatever you say." And he did. And I was introduced to the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, which I had known about all my life. But because I had indulged in not only alcohol, but what a friend of mine in Memphis called dry goods,
Mm-hmm.
I did not know if I'd be welcome in Alcoholics Anonymous, but I was. And they embraced me. And I unpacked my bags to stay for a while. And I still love it.
Well, you're a gift. I mean, you share, I'm going to use the word inspiration. Your inspiration. There's a difference between motivation and inspiration. And the way I have this is motivation is based on fear. Mm-hmm. I'm motivated because I'm afraid of this. Inspiration is I'm enthusiastic. There's
Mm-hmm.
something in me, a light or otherwise. I find you as an inspiration that has been a light to light other candles that people's lights are dimming out. So I just want to share that with you. If no one's ever told you that, I think it's important.
Thank you.
Then I want to kind of include Danny with you because you guys are like the yin and the yang. You know, earlier y'all said, I loved it, that y'all's home is a 2-story house.
Right.
You know, it's flat, but it's got 2 stories.
Right.
And I'm glad that you said it that way. I picked up on it, but some people kind of like, they're like over the head. And so, you know, what's your story? You've been in Al-Anon. I mean, you're
She had her first sponsor said, "Does your husband go to Al-Anon?" And Fran said no. And about 8 months later, he said, "Did your husband go to Al-Anon?" Fran said no. And finally, it got to be about a year and a half, and she got a little rougher with her and said, "Fran, does Danny go to Al-Anon?" And Fran said, "Look, he's not the one with the problem. I have the problem." And that lady looked at Fran and she said, "Honey, any man that'll live with you more than 6 months is sicker than you are. And he needs to go to Al-Anon." So that's when I went. And she'd been in recovery about a year and a half whenever I walked in that first Al-Anon meeting.
a year and a half. Wow.
Yeah, she'd been in recovery. When I talked to other families...
Well, you did some suffering during that time, didn't you?
You have no idea.
Oh, I have an idea.
We tell people this all the time, tell couples, and they look at us and tell sponsees this. The roughest part of our relationship wasn't during the drinking days. It was the first 5 years in recovery. We fought like cats and dogs. I mean, we were not on the same page. We couldn't get on the same page. It was back and forth and back and forth. And until we both got into... Until I figured out I've got my own stuff to do and I've got my own stuff to take care of. She was taking care of her stuff. And once I got into Al-Anon, went to my meetings and started working on me, you know, that's where I learned early on. They told me about the 3 C's. They told me about you didn't cause it, you can't cure it, you can't control it.
There it is, the control.
But then what I learned, the more I stayed around, is there's a 4th C. I can contribute to it. And my contributing to it, some folks call that enabling. And you see, that's what I was, and I had the greatest, most loving, most caring intent. I was a father. I was a husband. When we got here, we had 3 kids under the age of 6. and I was scared to death. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was happening with her. I was worried about the kids. What she didn't tell you, and I'll tell this, I got a phone call in my office. This is what I learned about this, quote, intervention type thing. I had a phone call in my office one day. She'd had a car accident. I mean, I know that's unique in the worlds of alcoholism.
Right.
But she had a car accident, and she was okay, hurt the van pretty bad. But the guy called me up and identified himself as a police officer, and he said he'd worked the accident and essentially said that, she was probably not under the influence of drinking, but she was under the influence of something. And she's told me many times that when the liquor stopped working, she went to the prescription pills because she just had to keep going. That I had to learn from her and learn going to Al-Anon. Anyway, he noticed that there was a child seat in this van where the big picture window was torn out, and there was a stuffed animal in the street among the glass. And that was our youngest son's little stuffed animal, and he was at Mother's Day out. And that police officer told me, he said, I've been worried about this all weekend, but I needed to tell you what was in my heart. Had your son been in that seat, this Monday morning you'd be doing something completely different than what you're doing at the office right now. And that scared me to death. That's when I picked up the phone and started trying to figure out what is this thing, calling my employee assistance program. They connected me with counselors, probably much like yourself, that they had on retainer, and they started telling me things to look for. And when they started telling me things to look for, things started making sense for me. And then they're the ones that advised me into what is now, I understand, is an intervention. I didn't know what it was called at that point in time. But it's not that I had this great epiphany and figured this out by myself. I had some help to figure out how to do this. And by the grace of God, it worked with her. The timing was good because she was ready to surrender.
See, this hits home. That, first of all, that was powerful, what you just said. That was, what you experienced, far more powerful than what I felt, but I could feel that. And how long ago was that? You remember the year?
88.
88, yeah.
88, okay. And so, with that many years has passed, you have been speaking in Al-Anon. Well, you've been speaking in these conferences for such a long period of time. And both of you having your journey, and then with the kids growing up, when was it in your journey about your children?
We were in North Carolina. I'd gotten another promotion. We moved from Memphis to North Carolina. Our oldest daughter stayed in Memphis. She graduated high school. Our two younger children went with us to North Carolina, our middle child, and our son. And while we were in North Carolina, our son started through high school, and that's where he discovered alcohol and drugs. And it got worse and worse and worse. And I didn't know what was going on as much as she did because he confided in his mother more. And it got a lot worse than I ever knew that it was at that point in time. I was taking my recovery, working my recovery because I was concerned about her and making sure I was taking care of me. I had not seen it in any of our other children. And then you confronted him, correct?
There's no doubt. One of my best things I tell about our son Jared, he was somewhere at 16, between 18, and from the time he was a tiny child, going back to that predisposition, I knew because we were having an argument one day. He was between 16 or 18, and about his lifestyle. And I needed to get nose to nose with him. So he was a big boy. He was 6'2". And I pulled
Holy smokes.
I pulled out my step stool. I crawled up where I could get nose to nose with him. I says, "Boy, you are just like your mother, and it is not a compliment." And he did not find that amusing at that time. I still think it's kind of cute.
I was expecting something else, but that was it.
But
Welcome to Fran.
welcome to Fran.
I liked it. Unpredictability.
The thing about it is, and I suppose this is where the Al-Anon comes out in me. I wanted to believe him. When he looked at me and told me he did not have a problem, I wanted to. He was different, and I wanted to believe it. But, way down, the way that I am, way down in my gut, I can pick one out at 10 paces, and I knew he had a problem. And I just didn't want to believe it. Now, the thing about it is, I kept it from Danny.
Wow.
I did. I kept as much as I could from Danny, and Lord knows I'd love to sit here and tell you that I did it to protect him or to protect Jared.
Yeah.
I was protecting me. I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to do all that.
That's right.
And I had it come across to me. Just the last time I spoke when I was talking about this. It's Jared. We were able to put him in treatment when he was 22. Jared taught me a whole lot about myself at that time. I had to thank him for what he taught me. He chucked up a mirror in front of me, and really showed me
who you are.
Yes. He I had to admit to that anger and to that fear and finally own it, really. Just taking the drinks and or the drugs away doesn't mean you're cured.
That's right.
That's
when the fun really starts, man. Forgive the word fun, but that's when it really gets real.
The rubber meets the road then.
So he taught me that there was more to this, that there was something else I needed to do to recover. And for that, I am grateful. He taught me more about love. He taught me more about forgiveness. He taught me more about love, tolerance, if you will.
Yes.
And acceptance.
When did he pass? How old was he?
He was 36. He went into treatment when he was 22.
Well, he overdosed. When he was living on the street, we were back in Memphis when we got the phone call when he overdosed. We got him home and put him through treatment then. That was in 2010. 8, 9, 10.
8, 9, 10
August
was
the 9th of 2010.
Was his sobriety date. And he did really, really well. He's our nomadic child, if you will. He was our free spirit, and he talked himself out of being he never believed he was an alcoholic. Also, but
of course.
When he was in treatment, the best story I ever heard is his house counselor was listening to him one day because Jared was explaining something to the newcomer in the recovery center, what it meant. And Fred said, "Jared, you really know this stuff." Jared looked at him and says, "Well, hell, Fred, I've heard it all my life. I just never applied it."
He was quoting the big book to him, and he wanted to know. He asked us one day, the counselor said, "Has Jared been in treatment? When did he go to treatment before?" We said he hadn't. And
well, the family gene pool with so many.
She carried him to AA meetings when he was 18 months old, and he laid on a pallet in the floor. He's been hearing it all of his life.
So the reason I'm asking you about Jared is because with your history in Al-Anon, and if we have a minute, what we have time left to say about what you do, it's like when Jared passed, how did y'all walk through that together? How did y'all walk through that together? Because that's so important for other families because they're scared to death. Like, what am I going to do?
We walked into the house. Fran had been speaking. She'd been telling her story that night, and we pulled up at the house, and our pastor and my niece pulled in behind us. And we knew this can't be good. Fran told me that when we got out of the truck. We walked in the house, and they asked us to call our daughters, and our daughters gave us the sad news that Jared had overdosed and died that day. And, our world crashed at that point in time. That was our baby. That was our youngest. And I had I didn't realize how much I had reveled in the fact that I could stand up and say, "Hi, I'm Danny, and I'm in recovery, and I'm in the family program of Al-Anon, and here's all the things." And all of my family's recovered. As of right now, everybody's sober. Everybody's clean and sober. Because, like I said, our oldest daughter lost everything that she had too, and she's had wound up in AA. And so, all of a sudden now, this deadly disease had taken one of our children, and we were lost. The biggest thing that helped us, or I can say helped me, she can speak for herself. That was at 10 o'clock at night that we got the news. At 5 o'clock the next morning, our phone was ringing, and by 6:30, there were people walking in our door. Now, nothing wrong with church and nothing wrong with family, but do you know who was walking in our door? AA members, Al-Anon members. I watched a car pull up in our driveway late that afternoon, and it looked like clowns getting out of a clown car.
There's so many in there.
This were her former sponsees from Memphis that drove 6 hours to be with her. When we figured this all out, we were not alone for 38 days. That's the recovery organization that we know. And we'd always been on the other side, going to these other sad houses and making coffee and just standing around because you don't know what to do, but to just be with them and love on them.
Yeah.
So when you ask me, how did we get through that? The love and the folks that helped us in this program, that came to us and surrounded us. Then we both kind of decided, I don't know if we'll ever be able to stand up and tell our story ever again, because this is just too painful. It's too raw. And she looked at me one day, we were on our way back from Lafayette, and she said, "I've just made a decision. I'm going to turn this over to God, and God will decide. God will let me know if I ever need to speak again." And I said, "I think I'll do the same thing. That makes perfect sense." That was a Sunday.
Yeah.
The next Monday at noon, we were eating lunch. Her email dinged and my email dinged. We'd already registered to go to the Al-Anon International Conference in Albuquerque that year. My email that I got was from Virginia Beach, the Al-Anon headquarters, asking me to speak. She got an email from AA's world headquarters in New York asking her to share. And I put my phone down, and she put her phone down. We looked at each other, and we said, "Well, God, that didn't take long."
No, God's calling.
So we did. And I wasn't prepared for what followed after that. I told my story, and for the first time told the story about losing our son and what that journey was starting to look like. And I've never seen so many people lined up with tears and hugs, and the commonality, they all had lost children in the last year. And now, almost monthly, I'm standing up in front of groups everywhere telling this story. And there's that same line.
Yeah.
And there's those same parents and grandparents walking up. And I get to hug them. Yeah. And we share love. And we have one common bond. This disease killed a loved one.
One of ours.
That's how I'm recovering from this. It don't get me Jared back.
Mm-mm.
So that's my answer. What about yours?
I believe very strongly in this program we receive gifts. And I say my spiritual awakenings, most of them is a 2x4 upside my head. But neither, it's a gift.
Yeah.
And so when Jared died, I talked, God and I talked a whole lot there. I can tell you there is a terrible rip still in my soul. But I says, big boy, you're going to have to go a real long way to show me with this one. And it took me quite a while to realize. I thought I had believed if something had happened to one of our children prior to Jared dying, the very least they would have to do is put me in a rubber room and lock the door and throw away the key. But I realized I was still upright, and I was putting one foot in front of the other. And frankly, it wasn't very graceful at times, and it hasn't very graceful at times. I have learned to acknowledge and to deal with my resentments toward myself, toward Jared, toward God. You know, I have realized that as my sponsor tells me, God's got a real big pair of panties. He can take it, friend. And so he and I talk regularly. I talk to Jared every day.
Oh yeah.
And I hear him in my head, and for that I am grateful. And you know, the bottom line is I'll get to see him again someday. And that's gift enough right now. We have 2 absolutely beautiful daughters, as I say, one in recovery. We haven't mentioned our middle child is excruciatingly normal.
Excruciatingly normal.
She does what she's supposed to do. She doesn't drink. She doesn't do drugs.
What's wrong with this kid?
She's like her daddy. She is our other folder holder. We call Danny and Kylie our folder holders. They keep us straight.
Wow.
So
that's a beautiful thing. If I could, with the time we have left, because I want to ask a question. You know, Jared, and you talk to him daily. What would be the most significant thing that you hear him tell you?
I love you, Mom.
And what does he want you to do?
To be happy. To be happy, and that he is beside me and he will make sure of it.
Thank you. Thank you. These conversations that we have with our loved ones are still there, and the fact that we allow ourselves to hear them. See, that's important. So many of us think we're detached and we're not. And so I'm so grateful that you still are in communion, because we're all, and my perception of God is we're with everybody, here and deceased, all. So the fact that you maintain, our grief sometimes separates us, but you've allowed your grief to heal and continue to build. So at least that's my interpretation. I can't speak for you. That's my observation, my interpretation, what I'm getting. So thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you. That means. And then, Danny, what you shared, man, about the families, and, you know, I think AA and Al-Anon, that is a family. I mean, that's another.
When we started our journey, we went to meetings. When you walked into a church basement, there was an AA meeting over here and there's an Al-Anon meeting over here. They're right across the hall.
Right.
And today, you're hard to find that. I don't know where we went wacky, but it's hard to find meetings where they're side by side like that anymore. And I don't understand it, because this is truly a family disease, whether it's AA or whether it's Al-Anon, or you can even call it, there's Nar-Anon. It doesn't make a difference. This is a family disease just because, well, here's my conundrum, and I talk about this a lot in some of my workshops. You go into an AA meeting and there's 24 people there, and I use Columbia where we go to meetings as an example. There's 24 people in the AA meeting. There's 4 people in the Al-Anon meeting. Riddle me this, Joker. Every one of those people in the AA meeting have got a mother and a father. They've got a grandparents. They've got grandparents. Most of the time, they got multiple spouses. They've got children. Yeah. And so, where are all of those? There are people out there suffering and hurting because of this disease that's damaged them, that don't understand they need help, that they need a way to get through this. Just because the loved one goes to treatment and goes to some meetings, they're still suffering. They're damaged from this. That's my opinion. I'm just speaking for it. Damaged the hell out of me, and I had to take care of me. I had to seek treatment for me to do that.
See, that's what I appreciate so much about your story, because you work with families, and when I have clients that come into the residential program, I'll speak to the families, and sometimes I have to say, hey, I can work with you, but I can't counsel you. I only because my client is your family member that's in treatment. So I recommend Al-Anon. And what counseling do they seek? Because they're looking for their loved one to be fixed. And as we've alluded to earlier, and then we have beautiful souls like you that are here to advocate about what the family members can do. And you talked about workshops that you present, and you're here in Louisiana. And I think that's huge because this show, Voices of Recovery, is about trying to unite the professional community and those that we serve. So if you want, I would like to invite you to share, to speak to the audience there about if anyone can get in touch with you, how can they?
Well, I'm easy to get a hold of. Well, first, let me say this: if you got a loved one that you're dealing with that's got a problem with alcohol or drugs, go on the internet and look up alanon.org. Real easy, al-anon.org. And there's a little button on there that says Find a Meeting. And if you click on that and put your zip code in or your town in, you're probably going to be shocked to find out that there's a meeting right around the corner from you. And go to that meeting and tell them Danny sent you, because most of them will probably already know Danny. But at least go and you'll find people that understand like nobody else knows about what you're going through. And the same thing with Noranon. You can find it at noranon.org. And then anybody can reach out to me at any time. I mean, I don't mind. I'll give you my phone number. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. And area code 919-601-7620. Send me a text or leave me a voicemail, and I can help get you connected. And I'm a husband and a father. I'm in a relationship and a choice relationship with an alcoholic. And folks look at me weird when I say I'm married to an alcoholic, and I do it with pride, because without her being an alcoholic and without her finding Alcoholics Anonymous, there wouldn't be an Al-Anon, and I wouldn't know anything about it. And if there wasn't an Al-Anon, number one, I don't think I'd be alive. If there wasn't an AA, I don't think she'd be alive. And I know without the combination of both of them, our family wouldn't be here. That's what's kept our family going. And we've been at this a while.
Well, y'all are a testament to it working if you work it.
If you work it.
If you work it.
It won't happen. It won't come up and bite you on the butt. You got to chase it.
I heard that. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being able to be present with us today. And, in the future down the road, if y'all would be cool to come back, maybe we'll just pick a topic and roll with it for a little bit. Because you guys have traveled the United States. You haven't just lived in Louisiana. Y'all been around. And so I call it an adventure. You've been on many adventures. There have been many lessons. And what those lessons have taught that you can share. Yeah.
She didn't even get into the stuff where she has to deal. She recovered from opioid addiction because of all of her back surgeries. We haven't even talked about that. I watched this lady pick up a Desire chip at her just before her 26th AA birthday. And there was a whole new set of recovery that we got to go through and learn from that one.
Is evolving. It is a continuous
This is one
evolution.
day at a time. We live our life one day at a time.
Fran, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, it's been an honor. Danny, you too. I've thoroughly enjoyed being able to connect with you guys today. I think we could go on for hours. I would love it. I really would.
Yeah.
So I want to say to everybody, thank you guys for being able to join us. If someone out there, please look up for Danny Childress. And happy to connect. Voices of Recovery, I can get you the information if you need it. Thank you for joining us today. It's a Godspeed that you are present with us. Any questions, reach out to us. Next time when I get to see you again, I say to you all, namaste.